All right, this is take two of this video. Welcome to Filthy Casual Hoops. My name is Soren. We're going to be talking about my personal all NBA selections for 2023. The 2023 NBA season is almost over. Every team has somewhere between 7 and 9 games left. And looking at strength of schedule and looking at the standings, I feel like I have a general idea of where some of the teams are going to land. Like we know the top three in each conference are probably going to be, Bucks, Celtics, Sixers in some order, and Nuggets, Grizzlies, Kings in some order. And then the four, five, six in each conference is also like the 4 and 5 of the East is going to be the Cavs, Knicks, and then 6 is either the Heat or Nets. And then on the Western Conference, we know that it is going to be some combination of the Warriors, Clippers, Suns in some order, depending on how some of these last games break down. Every single one of these teams, like the Clippers have a hard schedule, the Warriors have a somewhat easier schedule, and the Suns also have a somewhat harder schedule. So, but all of them, it's like the 8th hardest schedule, the 10th hardest schedule, and the Warriors have the easiest at 17. So, the Warriors could feasibly end up as a 4 seed in this scenario, but I'm not holding my breath. We just know that it's going to be some combination of those 3 teams, and I don't really think it changes a particular amount for me. Realistically, I don't feel that it does. I also kind of think I know what teams are going to miss the plan. My opinion is going to be the Pelicans and the Timberwolves. Maybe not the Timberwolves, but definitely the Pelicans. And then in the Eastern Conference, I think it's definitely going to be the Wizards and Pacers missing the plan. So, those are my thoughts. The Pacers do have a shot to come back in, but I don't really think it affects my selections too much. Then again, thank you for watching and clicking on this video. Leave a like, leave a comment on what you think I get right, you think I get wrong, and yeah, skip around. Feel free to skip around. This video is probably going super long because I want to talk about multiple players and at least some level of depth. So I'm gonna put chapters. So feel free to click around. If I'm starting to get boring, I'd much rather you click on something else and watch it than click off the video, right? So thanks again, and let's get into it. All right, so first off, my honorable mentions. This is a lot of honorable mentions, right? So for the guards, honorable mentions are Kyrie Irving, Tyrese Haliburton, De'Aaron Fox, Jalen Brunson, Devin Booker, and Jaylen Brown. I think realistically, Jaylen Brown, Devin Booker are the 2 that probably were closest to making it on this list, and at one point both were on my list. Brunson got injured, and I think Fox, just doesn't have a history of being on a top player on a top team, and I think he is more of a shot next year. That being said, this is his best year. He's averaging highs in efficiency, and I think next year is going to be his opportunity to really prove that he's an all NBA caliber player. So Jaylen Brown was the closest for me. I think he definitely deserves to be on this list, but there was one player whose team success was really bad that I just had to put over him. Same for Booker. I feel like he missed a lot of time and kind of flew under the radar. And then once they traded for KD, it kind of took away from what he was doing, even though KD's really not been on this team, and the Suns are still, in that mix. So for me personally, Booker does not make the list. Would I be surprised if he makes the list over some other players? Not particularly. But I think the guard depth in the league this year is fucking massive. Pardon my French. For the forwards and for the front court, my honorable mentions are much shorter. Jimmy Butler, Anthony Davis, and Bam Adebayo. This was tough for me. I think these guys just barely missed the cut. I think if AD played more games, he definitely would have made it. Bam, I think, is just a little bit farther behind him. Jimmy Butler also, he's just got a reputation for coasting in the regular season, and even looking at his stats, they're great. He's a fantastic player. He plays great defense. He's an energy guy, but I just think that there were other players who were better, and I'd rather give it to this season. because the Heat are. I mean, they're. It's just not his year for me. I wish I had a better reasoning than that. I just think other guys had better numbers on better teams, and it's hard to argue with that, at least for me. So my All NBA third team, right? 5 minutes in. Ugh. Um, All NBA third team. All right. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Damian Lillard, LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, and Domantas Sabonis. So I think Braun got penalized more so for his injuries and games played because, I mean, when he was playing, like this guy, you've got an argument for when he was playing All NBA first team. He was when he was rested and going at dudes, like I was so impressed by how good he was. And yeah, I mean, I think Braun AD is still just one of the best duos in the league, and it's hard to argue with Braun being on this list. I think anybody who says Braun is not all NBA is a fool, and I think third team could be lowballing him, but I think it's a really talented league, and at this point, missing that many games, you've got to get penalized. Um, my next pick, Kawhi, similar to Braun, penalized for games played. Um, Also, when he did play, he started off really, really slow. His numbers now are looking much, much better. But you're only playing 45 games. Like he's gonna probably end up playing somewhere in the mid 50s. So it's really not enough for me to put him above that. Uh, I don't really feel like I need to say more about Kawhi. Domantas Sabonis. Sabonis is freaking awesome, and I think he's the best player on the Kings, which are a top 3 seed in the West, and they're gonna end up being a top 3 seed in the West. They've finished. I mean, I can't say enough. Sabonis, whenever he's averaging a double double, he's averaging 19 and 12. He's playing some of the best passing ball in the league, which is supremely underrated. He's bullying people down low. He gets easy shots for his team. He gets doubled and then kicks it out. He's essentially a mini Jokic. And I mean, hey, that was good enough to turn a team that had been a perennial lottery team into a top seed in the Western Conference. Like, yes, I understand Kevin Huerter played amazing. Yes, I understand that De'Aaron Fox played amazing, but Sabonis was the guy. So he's my All NBA third team center. Dame is the person that I had to put on this list over Jaylen Brown. I just think that he had one of the best seasons of his career, and he really just got let down by his team, man. Like it's a constant issue, and they're wasting Damian Lillard for like the 20th year in a row. And I just couldn't bring myself to leave him off an All NBA team because of that. Because it is at the end of the day, yes, team success matters for this, but it is also an individual award. And I mean, if you're averaging 37% from three and on above league average true shooting, and you're averaging 32 points per game and 46% from the field, which is also a career high, his rim finishing stats have gone way up. And I mean, and this is coming off injury, like it's a bummer. It's a real bummer. And if maybe if Gary Payton never got injured, or maybe if Jeremy Grant worked out a little bit better, like maybe if some things broke differently, this season wouldn't have been wasted. But it's up there. It's up there. Uh, and I feel equal parts conflicted and resolute about this, which means I'm conflicted, I think. Um, but yeah, I had to put Dame on this list. SGA, you can make an argument for being higher on this list. The only reason that he's not is because, on the flip side of it being an individual award, is that it's also based on team success to a point, and his team is still not fantastic. I think they've been playing amazing towards the end of the season. I think we are going to see teams struggle against them in the postseason. I think they're likely to be one of the two teams to make it out of the play-in. I think if I had to pick two right now, I'd pick the Lakers and the Thunder. Honestly, those are my two picks to make it out of the play-in. Whichever of the teams manage to stay in. I think the Pelicans are falling out. I think the Thunder are going to stay in. I find it hard to believe that the Mavs aren't going to make it, but the way they've been playing lately, like, who knows? They might be lottery bound. So those are my two picks, and I think that warrants SGA getting on the list, especially given the fact that he's now one of the only players, assuming he can maintain it for the rest of the season, which I think he will, to average over 30 points, over I think it's 34, I think it's 35-5 with one block. Is I think, or 34-4 with one block, something like that. He has some crazy stat that like the only other players to ever do it are like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, like something wild like that. So SGA had to be on this list for me. It was just a matter of whether or not I put him second team or third team, and he was initially second team for me, but I was looking at the team thing and I was thinking about it in context, and I was like, all right, well, if I'm going to penalize Dame for that, I got to penalize Shea for that. So third team. Next, All NBA second team. 5 minutes. That's not so bad. All NBA second team. Steph Curry, John Morant, Julius Randle, Kevin Durant, and Jokic. So, let's start off with the guards. Steph Curry missed a lot of games. Got penalized for it. When he played, he was one of I think, the best guard of the year, by far. I he just had the best all around game, the passing, the playmaking, the off ball stuff, the shot creation, the shot making, all that stuff. And I mean, the Warriors as a team have been weird. But even with all that weirdness, even with Jordan Poole slipping over nothing, it seemed like 5 times a game, and being completely different players when he's in the starting lineup versus when he's coming off the bench. Even with all of that, the Warriors are still a top 6 seed in the playoffs. They have a shot at being a top 4 team, and I mean, they could end up being that top 4 team. I mean, the Clippers have to play the Grizzlies twice, the Suns and the Lakers, who are, the Lakers are something crazy coming down the stretch. So I don't know who I'm taking in that game. And I think that it could go any way with that. I think Steph just deserves to be on the list. I think he would be first team if he didn't get injured twice. John Morant. John Morant is another player that could have been first team. I think he showed the improvement. He's got the crazy driving kick game. He's averaging crazy numbers. I think 8.5 assists, which is the most surprising thing, I think, for me. I don't think of Ja has ever been a crazy good passer, but his driving kick game has just gotten so good that it's like hard to deny. I think the main downside of Ja's game is that he's shooting 31%, 315 from three, which is, not that great. So his assists actually went down. It's 8 assists, not 8.5. It was 8.5 a little bit ago. And yeah, I think the off court stuff does matter to a point, and I think there would have been more discussion as to whether or not Ja deserved to be first team had he not had that whole debacle. That being said, he more than deserves to be on All NBA second team. He's on the second best team as the best player. He's on the second best team in the West as the best player. So, hard to dispute that. KD also got penalized for lack of games played. He got injured. Otherwise, he was on my first team ahead of somebody else. And yeah, it's KD. Jokic, I will talk about when I get to Embiid, who is my first team center, obviously, because it was actually Cody Zeller the whole time. No, it's Embiid. But yeah, Jokic, 2-time MVP, having a great season, top team in the West. I mean, hard to argue with him being on the list. It's just a matter of where you place him. Yeah, and then I think the one that people probably may be surprised about that I put over Kawhi is Julius Randle. Julius Randle played 75 games. He has not missed a single game this year. Not one game on a team with a top 8 record in the league in the Harder Conference. They're a top 5 seed. They're in the Harder Conference. I think if Brunson didn't spend so much time injured, and if they had Josh Hart from the start of the season, or if RJ Barrett had played better from the start of the year, or if Mitchell Robinson didn't get injured. Of all the if the Knicks didn't deal with all these injuries, they could very easily have been a 4 seed or a top 3 seed. I think it is not out of the realm of possibility. I think this team, nobody wants to see them in a 7-game series. And if Randle's hitting his jump shots and if Brunson is playing the way that we know he can play, I just feel like no team in the East except for the Bucks feels comfortable in that series. And even the Bucks, I think, it'll be a tough 6-gamer. I think everybody else, it would be like a tough 7-game out. I don't think the Knicks are going to go out in less than that. So first team, all NBA first team. Luka Doncic, Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum, Giannis, and Embiid. So let's start with Embiid. Embiid, I think, has been by far the best center in the league this year. I think his defense has been fantastic. He has one of the most refined mid-range games in the league, which is kind of weird to say as a center, but like actually he has one of the best mid-game, like just mid-range gameplay I've seen. And it's kind of wild because you'll see him take a center, like a legit 7-foot center, and then just walk their ass to the rim and then just dunk on them. And it's like teams are just double teaming. You just got to double team him, and he just passes out of it. The one thing that I do notice about Embiid is that sometimes it feels like, even with his talented roster, towards the ends of games, if he kicks it out and people aren't hitting shots, he feels like he's got to do it himself instead of just being like, I got to trust my teammates to make the shots down the stretch if I'm getting double teamed, which, I mean, like last night against the Warriors, like he's got like a 40 piece and he's getting triple teamed. And it's like, all right, well, I got to take the shot anyways because Korkmaz has just missed 2 threes in a row. And, Tobias Harris just turned the ball over. And it was like, I've got to take the shot. And I mean, for a guy who's on a talented roster, like admittedly a talented roster, that's tough. But his playmaking's fantastic. His defense is fantastic. His shot creation's fantastic. His everything is about him is good. There's not a flaw in his game. Are there better passers? Yes. Are there better scorers? Yes. Are there better defenders? Yes. Is there a better package than him? That's tough. Maybe Giannis, the other All NBA first team front court member. Giannis is the only person I think with an argument over Embiid for MVP. His advanced stats lag behind a little bit, and it is not his best season, but that I don't think should disqualify you. It does not need to be your best season for it to be an MVP season. I think the fact that we think that way takes away from the greatness of some of these players. And I think Giannis is going to suffer from that and suffer from the fact that he's got 2 MVPs. But yeah, I mean, he's a former Defensive Player of the Year, 2-time MVP. I mean, I don't really need to say more than that. Tatum is the one player that I had KD above because I think KD has played better this year. But again, games played. Tatum's played, I think 69 games now. He's gonna pass the 70-game mark. KD's played like 45 games. Like at the end of the season, he's probably gonna hit 55. I mean, if you wanted to put KD third team and put Kawhi over him, I mean, but Kawhi hasn't even played more games than that. I don't know. There's so many of these players have missed massive amounts of time. It's like hard to choose exactly who to put. And Tatum, I think I have to in a league where nobody's playing games, I have to give the nod to the player that's actually playing. And that's what I did here. I mean, Tatum's struggled with his shot this year. He's shooting like 34%, which is not good on like 9 attempts from 3 per game, which is not really what you want to see, especially from somebody who has a better shot than that. But do we know that? Over the last 3 seasons, he shot less than 38% 3 times. So shot 35% last year, shooting 34% this year. Like, is this just who he is, a volume shooter? And if that's the case, is that enough for the Celtics to win? I don't know. And that's kind of why I really struggled with putting Jaylen Brown on the list or not, because I think Brown has been, in many games, the best player on that team. And it's tough. But that being said, Tatum, he's still one of the better defenders in the league. He's got one of the better drive games. His passing's gotten a lot better. Or I mean, it got a lot better last year, but it's gotten a lot better. And I mean, they're on the second best team in the league. So I mean, he's got to be on there. Guards: Luka Doncic, Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell started out really hot. He had that 71-point game. Um, Cavs were killing it. Cavs were crushing it. Dealt with some injuries to Darius Garland. Darius Garland wasn't playing amazingly to start the season either, and Donovan really, really carried the team. But I think he is definitely the worst player on this list. On first team, not on the list, but like on the first team. And I think realistically, there is a world where he probably didn't make first team if Steph doesn't get injured, if Ja was actually playing instead of playing with guns. And I think there's a world where that happened or happens, because I mean, this is my list. This is not a prediction. This is my list. Luka Doncic. Luka is another player who I put on first team, but his team's not even in the play-in right now. So if you want to put Ja or Steph over him, I'm not saying you're wrong. And I think there is an alternate version of this list where I just say, hey, I'm just looking at team success and I'm putting Jaylen Brown, I'm putting Devin Booker, I'm taking out Dame, I'm taking out Luka, and I'm just moving the other players up. I think there is an alternate version of this list that is like that, and that might be the way that voters vote. I'm really interested in seeing how it breaks down in like the media vote, because I mean, I really struggled with this list. I wrote it like 4 or 5 times. Like I was looking at stats, I was looking at games played, I was looking at teams, I was looking at strength of schedule remaining. I was looking at so many different things, and I really struggled with this. It took me like a week to make this list. I think I got it right. Let me know if you think I got something wrong. I mean, there's players that I wanted to put on this list that I didn't. And I mean, it's tough. It's tough when all the best players in the league are either not playing games or their teams are bottoming out. And it's toughie. It's a toughie. So let me know what you think. Leave a like, comment. Thank you so much if you got to this point in the video, and subscribe. Like I'm trying to hit that big 100. So people can ask me, how you doing? I'll be like 100. All right. Ooh, that was a bad one. All right. Bye.